Country Confidential.
I wanted to kind of first ask you when you were kind of like rummaging through ideas, the name of your album is so unique and so like, if I was like old school days, like going through Sam Goody and being like, oh, like, who is this? What is this? Like, did that kind of go through your brain a little bit when you were naming the album that you wanted it to like really not only reflect you as an artist, but like kind of be shocking, like, oh, like, what is this?
I think it definitely has that power, that name, that word. But it is honestly just like it's the name of the river in my hometown, right? So like for me, that song um was one that personified kind of where I came from. And then it was just a bonus really that it's such a unique standout. It's an Indian tribe. Okay. The Chickahominy tribe is an Indian tribe from the area in Virginia where I grew up. And so there's a river called the Chickahominy that runs through the town. And so yeah, it's definitely one of those like I mean, most people can't pronounce it. They call it
That's
I've
why
heard
I didn't say it because I
Chickahominy
knew I
and
was going to butcher it.
yeah, all kind of stuff. But I feel like it's a noteworthy it's definitely like you want to share like as much of yourself as an artist as you can, right? And then it's a noteworthy part of my story that felt like a something that should be shared at this moment in time where I'm at as an artist. I'm trying to connect the dots from the past to the present. And um and the Chickahominy River played such a critical role in when I'm digging into the deep recesses of my memories, and trying to pull as a songwriter, trying to pull from those experiences. That river stands out. And so yeah, I mean, I've got other named. I had some other working titles in the mix, but that one just felt like it resonated on a personal level. And I think it's a bonus. I never really did, to answer your question, I never thought like, how do I turn heads with the title with the title. It was honestly more just, you know, I'm lucky that it's got such a unique name,
It's
and it's
bonus.
not, there's also the James River in our hometown, and I spent a lot of time on the James, but that's not nearly as
That's kind
exciting.
of boring. Yeah.
Yeah, so it definitely is a pivotal song on the album, and it's so far it's the most well received of the four we've put out so far. So it's really cool to like our little hometown and that little river and the memories I have as an artist and I mean as a human being growing up there that's struck a chord on a larger level than some of the other themes on the album have so far. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I think everybody has a little, river or stream or a crick, as my grandparents call it down in
A
Central,
crit, yeah,
a good old crick.
yeah, for sure.
How has been singing that Chickahominy? Was that like hard for you to like sing, or did it kind of just come naturally because you'd been saying it your whole life?
Definitely naturally. That's I mean, it was there. I've got just so many stories and different times in my life where that river came up, and it was just part of our culture there. So yeah, it definitely just rolls off my tongue as far as that goes. Yeah.
I love that. I feel like I would get tripped up on it. I feel like I
Yeah, yeah.
playing live
It's a
and be
good
like,
vocal warm
hey,
up
roll
if you
that
need it.
one back. Let's try it again.
Red leather, yellow leather, red leather,
Yeah,
yellow
right,
leather.
right, right. Unique New
Yeah,
York.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
all that
Chicken
stuff.
hominy, chicken hominy.
Yeah, right before you go on stage. But I feel like it's such a bold statement to kick off a year with a full body of work. And so, kind
Thanks.
of talk to me about that decision, why you wanted to start off the year with a bang. I mean,
Let's
it's such
go.
a
Why not?
11 tracks. I mean, that's nothing to scoff at.
Thanks. Well, it's just I'm overdue, and I had the season was right. I had the stockpile of songs that felt like album worthy, just kind of sitting there, um there was a moment where I didn't really know what to do next as an artist, and then God pulled strings and orchestrated this whole thing coming together where this my producer Anthony Olympia produced the album. He was just a friend at the moment, or at the time, and we had written a song together for his band. And after the write, he was like, "Man, I just love what you do, and I don't know if you ever even consider working with other people as producer. I know you're doing your own thing, but I'd love the chance to maybe work with you as a producer if you ever want to record more songs. And I mean, literally 3 weeks later, we were in the studio cutting 11 songs. It was just that perfect storm of, I was ready, the songs were there, and he was down. And it just was really, I mean, honestly, I give God the glory. It was just an amazing thing to just like not really know where to turn next. And that's the season I'm in life in general right now, is just like, I don't know where the road's turning next. I'm just trying to be ear to the ground and just kind of like be in the moment and do my best, show up and let him do the work, and that's what happened here. I mean, honestly, this just came together uh completely unexpectedly. The timing of it being January, I think, is a big bonus. Like you said, just kick the year off. That wasn't intentional on my part either. It just, I think honestly, I'm just in the flow of God's plan, and this is how it shook out.
I love it. It's so funny because I wanted to ask you about working with Anthony. The production on this, I wish there was like an Oscars for like
Oh,
production of, well, I guess
oh
there is
well.
technically album of the year. Doesn't that technically go to the producers?
Yeah, but you gotta have a label,
Yeah, I was
politicking for you.
so blown away by the production.
Oh,
Obviously,
that's awesome.
I am a nerd when it comes to lyrics. I am a nerd when it comes to how you kind of put your songs in order, and we'll get to that. But I have never nerded out over production as much as I have. I
Wow.
think from an album from when I was little, listening to like Cold Day in July when I was 3.
Wow. Oh my God.
So
Thank you.
I want to talk to you about that production. Was it just God? I mean, I love that you're like, I'm a very faithful person, and you know what I mean? I'm kind of finding myself in this very funny crosswords. So I think it's really wonderful that we're having that connection as well. But
Totally.
was that kind of one of those God moments where the two of you just sat down and it just happened?
Truly. And Anthony himself is I mean, he's a monster of a talent. He's just so talented. His capabilities endless as a player and as an idea guy. Um, and it's the perfect fit for like what I wanted my music to sound like. Him, the pairing of him behind the wheel and these songs and me singing them was just. Um, I wish it had been that way. I mean, I wouldn't. No, I don't say that. I'm so thankful. I wish there's a few songs I would go back a few years and recut them with him as
God,
producer.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, he's just been just an absolute game changer on that front, and his talent's extraordinary. The room we cut in was off outside of Nashville. We went away from Music Row. We tried to get as out of the norm as possible too, and simplified it too. We didn't, the budget. I'll be honest. I'll be fully transparent here. I had $15,000 to spend on making
Yeah,
an
that's more
11
than I got.
song
Yeah.
album, and Anthony being so gracious, he just, he was willing to try to make that happen for me, and so we found players that I feel like are amazing players, and we cut at a room that's not, going to cost an arm and a leg, and they got the mixing engineers. It's a duo. It's Luke DeJanes and Seth Ernest. They're extraordinary talents, and their investment in the project has been unmatched. Just all three of the players, production and mixing, they've all been um, the real ingredients here that's helped it become, the product that it is. Honestly, and so I'm just super grateful. Those guys they do deserve that Oscar you're talking about. They deserve it, not only because it sounds so great, but
So
just like their commitment to it has been just. I'm just so grateful. I mean, honestly, you wouldn't. I mean, hours and hours. People don't know how much time goes into making an album, and especially when you really care about the details and you want it to be extraordinary, or you attempt to be extraordinary. It just takes every bit of your time for a long season. We started in April.
okay.
We started tracking in April, and we just finalized the mixes right before Christmas. So
Oh my gosh. That's wonderful.
so we cut early May, and then and then we just took our time with, I also was I'm playing shows on the road. I'm writing songs for a living, and Anthony does the same. And so, we were having to fit it around our lives, but every moment, every free moment we had that was not already taken was given to this project for the last, 6 months, 7 months. So yeah, I hope they do get some recognition, and I don't, it's a humble little album that, really has no team behind it whatsoever. I just really hope that somehow the light gets shed on them for their sake, honestly, because they're so
So
talented.
it's so funny. I think my favorite, we are in such a world of let's just drop a bunch of singles and then whatever. I grew up, I'm going to age myself. I grew up in the era of you went to Sam Goody and you bought a CD and
Same.
listened to it from top to bottom. And maybe you had a couple favorites that you went back and forth from, but it was a full body of work.
Right.
And when I sat down and listened to your body of work, I'm like, I wish I had a contact at like HBO Max or Netflix.
Oh,
This
cool.
a movie. It
Let's
was
go.
so cinematic and the ebbs and flow. So I kind of want to talk to you about the order of the songs. And I really feel like there's this like underarching story. I haven't been able to put my finger exactly on what it is. So I'm hoping that you can assist me. I'm gonna like phone a friend, like Reed
Totally.
Elbin, like phone a friend.
Let's
But I can
go.
tell that there's like this underarching something because the way you put the songs together was just so thoughtful.
Oh, that's so cool. And thanks for noticing. Thanks for diving in that deep and that intently. That's awesome. That was my second attempt on the song order. So
Really?
yeah, the first attempt was was pretty close to that, what it ended up being, but the second attempt felt just right. And I think that all the years of being on the road and playing live shows and pacing a show
Yeah.
has helped when it comes to pacing an album too. Um, and I'll age myself too. What I used to love about and we have elements of this in this project, but what I used to love about albums back in the day was the secret songs at the end
Oh my
that you have
God,
to
yes.
you don't push stop, you just got to keep
The
listening because
Target
there's
exclusive or whatever
yeah,
you
there's little
got.
nuggets and or songs that morph into the next song with that,
Yeah.
seamlessly. And and we approached it like that, and we couldn't do some of the sequencing as far as one song morphing into the next one because some of the timestamp issues that happen once you release a song digitally now, there's like it's really hard to do that. And any song that's been released before the album has been released, like the singles leading up to the album, trump the ability to do that. And so the couple that we were trying to do that with, two of the songs had already been, singles leading up to it. So that was off the table. But there was my favorite moment on the album is at the end of Bad News.
Yes.
And I'm going to get emotional.
No.
Um, there's there's a moment where, I was able to like kind of address and speak to my fears,
Yeah, it's important.
and it just felt really good. It was a prayer, and that people need to make sure they don't hit stop at the end of that song because it comes back in not only with a jam musically, but there's a prayer that I speak, and it's over my kids and it's over our family. And I just feel fortunate to have um, the ability to do that, the freedom to like experiment, explore, get outside of the short attention spans that people have with music these days, and and use it for me. Use the piece of music for um, to try to like overcome some shit. Really, I've got
Yeah.
like this deep seated fear. I'm sorry.
Welcome
I
to the
can't believe I'm
club.
doing
But it's
this.
so funny because
um,
literally next on my question was about that song.
oh wow.
This is like super weird.
Yeah.
Because I always look at the track listing and I go, okay, what two songs just like looking at like stick out to me. And Bad News was the first one that stuck out to me. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to like make sure I really hone in on that. Like you can feel like all your feels. You can feel your fears, you can feel your hope, you can feel that then you want that for your kids, your family, and for your fans. And so I think it's really important that you put that puzzle piece in that album.
Oh, thank you. That's freaking awesome to hear. It's so rewarding to hear that. Because um, you know, not only do you put yourself out there as an artist, but you also overthink it as an artist. I do, and um, that prayer at the end of that song, it was in the moment. It was one and done. It was an actual prayer, and I do feel rewarded by you saying that you felt it because I know I felt it on the mic in the room. I was, it was from my heart. And so when you're doing something with your heart and from your heart, and it's felt and received that way as genuine and something purposeful, then that's the win for me. That's amazing.
I mean, that was the moment when I was like, do I have a Netflix contact? Is there someone I can call? Like,
I'll take
hey,
it,
I have this
please.
awesome score. You don't know who I am. Can you please make a movie out of this? Because I would love to see it.
Me
But
too.
the other song that stuck out to me, and it's so funny, my dad and I actually saw you way back in the day and was really excited to chat with my dad about interviewing you. And so we sat by the fire and listened to your song. And so this next
Oh,
question actually comes from my father.
awesome.
He's like, can I join the Zoom? And I'm like, absolutely not.
Oh,
You
come
don't
on.
hijack my interview
He's
and like
welcome anytime.
ask him about like dumb stuff, which questions with my dad would be like a whole nother all country news segment that would like go viral. But my dad wanted to know about the song Green because that's what stuck out
Cool.
to him initially when
Cool.
we did a listen through.
Awesome. Yeah, that one's a it's a metaphor for where I find myself and have found myself at different points in my life where I've taken little missteps here and there where I mean quickly corrected missteps honestly because I was never like a rebel kid. I never strayed far from the straight and narrow, but there were moments where I was like definitely uh, going down a wrong road and this story was a metaphor for just kind of those wrong turns made right, and I credit God for his ability to be as involved as he is in my life that like and anyone's life who's willing to let him be involved um, to the point where like you if you're being if your intention is to walk the straight and narrow, to walk the path that pleases God, to benefit from what uh what a willing heart to please God, like the reward that you get from that internally, not always like
Yeah.
in the physical world, but like internally, what a win that feels like. Um, his ability to kind of like do that at different stages of my life has been what's kept my faith alive all this time. Eh, like that involvement on a level of like, you know, putting me where I need to be in the right place at the right time. Even and I can draw the line back to this album, the way it came together. It's the same thing. It's like I'm still in the moment right now, um, experiencing his involvement in my life and where the road turns next. And so the story Green is this guy who's doing his best and in the process starts down a path that's no good. Um, but God Himself, through a lightning bolt, sets fire to the crop he's growing and forces him out of it. And so I was like, as we're writing this story, me and Drew Kennedy wrote this song. I just was, it just felt like the parts of my journey where it wasn't a lightning bolt, but it was uh, something very tangible at that moment in time that got me back to where I needed to be and put me on the right path. So that song was it was an easy one to write, to be honest with you, because it just felt like, it felt, number one, I love writing story songs, and number two, if it's a story I can find myself in, then that usually is the easiest one to write. That's my favorite kind of story.
You're the king of story songs. I mean, you
Oh, I don't know
yeah.
about that. That's very
But
kind.
it's so funny because as my dad was listening to it, granted, there was whiskey and cigars involved with my father. He got
Nice.
really emotional. And I was thinking,
Mm.
Dad, why are you getting so emotional? And it's so funny to hear you say about that because my dad grew up in a farming family and my
Oh,
dad
wow.
grew up doing all that stuff. So I love how like instantly, there's kind of that connection. But
That's amazing.
like I'm getting emotional. I'm like, I won't cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm gonna hold it in for this interview. And then when we're done, I'll go cry. But
That's so cool.
but
Tell
I
your dad that means a lot to
Oh
hear,
my gosh, I know.
please.
It just struck him in like a different way. And my dad is not one to show emotion unless he's very angry, like most Midwestern fathers. But like it just really struck him. And I'm just so glad you're kind of what you said was kind of what I was hoping you were gonna say about this,
Oh,
because that's what I got out of it. But on a
awesome.
lighter, more fun note, let's
Yeah.
talk about the album art. It's kind of
Let's do
like
it.
mysterious. We went from this really scary coyote wolf in flames, death, God is coming, ravenous revolution thing to like white. So can we talk about that, please?
Yeah, totally. That's symbolic of the redemption, I think. Like I think that the whole album as a whole, to explore what we were talking about earlier, your question about thematically, what does this mean? Um, I think, honestly, I do think it is a struggle between flesh and spirit, right? Like this album for me, which is my life, it's been my journey. It will always be, as a believer and someone who's a hustler trying to make it happen here, using everything in my power and my own hands to make things happen that I can, and the rest being totally out, and simultaneously being out of my hands altogether. And it's just like this constant dichotomy of being caught up in chasing after worldly things and chasing after eternal things, and where those worlds collide, these stories exist. So like I think symbolically, the light, obviously green, that's a pretty spot on picture of the story, that album art or that single art, with the lightning and the DEA cop car showing up and everything's on fire. But the second uh, release, Chickahominy and Bad News, um, you can see the coyotes running through the what feels like the beginnings of the river, right? And behind him is that fire that just he's being driven out. He's being driven out from the fire where the I mean I look at it as I look at the coyote as the enemy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's why we put
yeah.
glowing green
Those
eyes,
piercing eyes, yes.
which also looks like a night cam, like a coyote does on a
Oh
night cam.
yeah. Yeah.
But it was definitely I wanted it to feel like that was being driven out from where the lightning had struck. And that's where then he's roaming. And so Bad News for me is like, I'm honestly this driven by fear thing that I experience a lot of times as a dad, like fearing for their protection and their health. Um, that fear is like that prowling coyote, and I wanted it to feel like he was being driven out and now having free reign to prowl and prey. And as scary as that feels, it felt like it felt real. And so then when we get to sitting down, I'm sitting down and I have different iterations of the album art for the album as a whole, and you'd laugh if you saw the one that was going to be. Um, it was crazy. It was like, I mean, it was bizarre.
Was the
It had all.
coyote flying
No,
now?
it was completely crazy. It was it was. I won't even go there.
Yeah,
Long,
sounds
sto-
good.
long story short, though, there was a peacefulness to the and like an exhale I was able to have when I saw when I ran up on the picture of the river, because we shot some stuff in my buddy Nico Salatis. He's a badass photographer. We flew on a whim to back home to Virginia and shot some stuff. And this particular picture of the river, when it was put in black and white, it just like all of a sudden just felt like peace again. And so it felt the mystique is there. That river, the Chickahominy River, needed to have the mystique that I attribute to it. I wanted people to see it and be able to attribute a mystique for the river themselves. And I think that picture does a good job of that. And I just got super lucky with the font. I love the album, the title, the way it's written. And I did all these myself on my phone.
No way!
Yeah, I
You're
did.
kidding me.
Yeah, I swear. Well, I use a computer for the album art, for the one that says the Chickahominy thing. But yeah, I sure did. I designed the first two on my phone, and that's one advantage of technology these days is just the creation engine is pretty strong. But it just like as soon as I saw it, and even the font itself had different iterations. It just didn't feel right, and then stumbled up on this thing and I accidentally had the type font like super huge, the size, and wrote it out and it popped up exactly like you see it now. And I was like, oh,
God
okay.
help
All
me.
right then. Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah, it's God's goodness and his plan, his time, we'll see what happens with the music. I don't have any I don't believe I have any goals for it necessarily for the album. I'm not sure what the next chapter is. I don't know. I do know that I'm here. I'm in this moment. I'm proud of what the work we did, and hearing you say it's hit you like it hit you is that's a big win for me. I wonder what's next. Honestly, I don't know. I'm excited to know. I can't wait to find out.
Country Confidential.